Let us honor the legacy of Douglas and the abolitionists by our persistent commitment to make Rutgers and this city of Newark and our world in general more inclusive and more welcoming. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Barchi. Before I announce our next speaker, I want to also, everybody have a pin? These amazing Frederick Douglass pins were donated by our Rutgers Newark Alumni Association, so I also want to make sure that we give them their support. Our next speaker is Derek Green from on behalf of the Office of the Governor. And so Derek is an appointee in the Governor's Administration serving as Senior Advisor for Diversity, Faith, and Urban and Regional Growth. Please welcome Mr. Green.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor for me to be here on behalf of our Governor, Phil Murphy, who sends his love and his regards on this very special occasion, certainly to Dr. Barchi and Dr. Cantor and to all those that are here today, to the elected officials, to our great mayor, Mayor Baraka, and our great council president, Mildred Crump, and all the members of the council. I'm also here today because I am a proud graduate of Rutgers University, Newark University College. Proud. Matter of fact, I was speaking at Seton Hall last week on behalf of the governor, and I told them I have to be honest with you. I'm a proud Rutgers grad. But let me say this. It was at Rutgers University that I met Dr. Clement Price, and he was my instructor. I learned from him, Brother Payne, and I studied the civil rights movement in the North. That was my senior paper, the civil rights movement in the North, and Dr. Price guided me through that. And I want to say this, injustice still remains today. The lack of freedom and injustice, we have to fight it on a daily basis, and our governor, to the family of Frederick Douglass, we're fighting it every day. I want to give you a stat. The average net worth of a white family in New Jersey is almost $300,000 according to the Institute for Social Justice. The average net worth of a Latino family in New Jersey is $7,100. And the average net worth of an African American family is $5,900 for the entire family. We have work to do. And I want you to know, to the family of Frederick Douglass, that we are working every day to keep his legacy alive through sound public policy. It's not just remembering what he did, but what he stood for. If he were alive today, he would say that treating immigrant children and separating them from families is not right. He would say it's not right. And so we honor your family. We honor his service by how we implement public policy. You have great people here in New Jersey that are helping to do that. And we want you to know that his legacy will remain forever in our hearts. God bless you, and God bless everyone here.
Thank you, Reverend Green, actually. Let me be correct. Titles are important. I now have the privilege and pleasure of bringing to the stage Mayor Baraka. I get the people who need no introduction. I understand Marcia set me up. A native of Newark, whose family has lived in the city for more than 70 years, Mayor Baraka embodies the critical importance of honoring and living, I'm going to say that again, honoring and living history, legacy, and a commitment to social justice. Please, Mayor Baraka, we welcome you.
Incredible day in our city. I just, to Chancellor Cantor, to President Barchi, to all the elected officials that are here today, Mr. Morris Jr., the folks that helped unveil Douglas's relationship, Frederick Douglass's relationship to this university, to this city. We thank you a million times. We don't have enough to pay you for the work that you have done here today. And as President Barchi pointed out, all of the things that happen in this state and in this city, and how people are beginning to talk about it, I want to thank Chancellor Cantor for actually doing something about it. And just the increase in enrollment of Newark residents in this university here locally will impact generations of young people and families for time to come, and to have them come here and play on the field and be in a field named after Frederick Douglass is enormous. You know, Frederick Douglass and the Underground Railroad is nothing new to our city. Frederick Douglass has come here to speak, right? The Underground Railroad in Newark was very vibrant in this city. The religious community, both black and white, spent a lot of time and hours and risked their lives in a state, by the way, that supported slavery. The state of New Jersey was one of the last states of the Union that abolished slavery. In fact, the last slaves were let free in 1865 when the Emancipation Proclamation was ratified. So, but before this, when the 13th Amendment was ratified. So until then, there were still slaves in the state of New Jersey. And so Bergen County was the largest county, had the most slaves in the entire state of New Jersey, which is not too far from where we are, which is not by coincidence, is also one of the richest counties in the state of New Jersey as well. And we know where those riches formulated from, right? And so Newark has always been what Ken Gibson talked about many, many years ago, that as other people get there, Newark will get there first. So Newark, in the midst of all of this, was fighting against slavery. The abolitionists had a home in Newark, New Jersey. Frederick Douglass had a home in Newark, New Jersey. The Underground Railroad had stops here in Newark, New Jersey. So the legacy of us struggling and fighting against injustice is not born anew. This is nothing we created in this generation. I know sometimes some of us young people, we believe that we started activism when we were born, that we read a few books and now we're the most radical people that walk the planet Earth. But you're following and standing on footsteps of people who were speaking out during dangerous, dangerous times, when people were actually being lynched to speak against the injustices that you have a right to speak against now, that you can put on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. They couldn't even have a meeting in their church about the things that you can print publicly on Instagram or social media. And Frederick Douglass risked his life, and there are many, many people who risked their lives to do that. The things that I remember about Frederick Douglass, and I want to sit down after this, was where there's no struggle, there's no progress. Frederick Douglass wasn't, and we have agitator. We talk about agitation. Frederick Douglass wasn't just an agitator. He was a brilliant strategist. We need to be clear to understand that Fred Douglass, not only did he march, did he speak, but he wrote, but he also met with the leaders of that day. He met with the legislators of that day. He stood close as Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. He hung out with fugitive slaves. He organized, he agitated, but he also had an offensive strategy. It is important for us to understand that not only did he have a defensive strategy, but Fred Douglass also had an offensive strategy. And I also remember reading the narrative and the life of Frederick Douglass when I was a student at Howard University. And after that, I read, and I always keep close and near and dear to me, what to the slave is the meaning of the 4th of July. That embodied who Frederick Douglass was. While the country was celebrating the 4th of July as we do today, Fred Douglass said it was mere bombast. That in fact, it was an affront to millions of slaves who were still enslaved as the country celebrated its independence and its freedom without recognizing the humanity and the dignity of people in this country who were reduced to property and chattel while they celebrated independence that millions of Americans or residents or citizens of that time could not celebrate because they, in fact, were not independent or free. That is what I remember about Frederick Douglass, that he spoke truth to power. And to name this field after Frederick Douglass is not mere ceremony. It is not just an opportunity to put his name on something, to put Frederick Douglass's name on a field at Rutgers University that has a history of slavery deeply embedded in it. Next to Paul Robeson's center, calls up the spirits and the ghosts of our ancestors in this very area. It calls up a history of people who were deliberately and purposefully hunted in this community. It calls their spirit. So when our students walk past here in their study, we pray that the spirit of Frederick Douglass haunts you, haunts the school, haunts your teachers, haunts everybody that steps foot in and around this area. And maybe the ghost of Paul Robeson and Fred Douglass can get together and plot and agitate your mind, that you not only speak out against injustice, but that you do one thing better, that you begin to analyze and study and build a more just and a more humane society. God bless Nancy Cantor and the work that she's doing at Rutgers Newark. God bless the students here, and God bless the great city of Newark.
Talk about talking up and out. We've been to church just now. Thank you, Mayor Barack. I can always count on you to bring the house down. And we are followed by another church bringer down, Council President Mildred Crump. Now, I just want to say, Council President, most people know that before. Our students who may not know this, Councilwoman President is a legacy in her own right. She has made history twice in Newark. First as Newark's first African-American councilwoman, and then as the first female president of the Newark Municipal Council. Please give her all the praise.
I just whispered in her ear, thank you for the kind words of introduction, but why did you make me speak after Mayor Raz J. Baraka? That's punishment. Certainly to everyone who is assembled here, this is a great day. Who would have thought that the birth of this man so many centuries ago would still be resonating in the country of his birth? I had the privilege of, let me also do some protocol, to the congressman, to our mayor in his absence, certainly to the one and only Nancy Cantor and her shadow, Marsha Brown. Where is she? There she is. Certainly to my colleagues, Councilwoman McIver, to all of you who are, to whom honor is due. I was trying to think of a way to say that, Steve, so it didn't. But I had the privilege, not even knowing that this day was coming, I had the privilege to sit in on a lecture by David Blight. How many of you know who David Blight is? Oh, good. I'm glad to see hands. I bought the book as a result of listening to Dr. Blight. And he, as they say, tiptoed through the pages of Frederick Douglass's life. And I thought back, I wonder what he would say today to us that would make a difference. As I read part of the book, I discovered that, well, slavery was alive and well, but because of who he was in the family structure, there were times when he had, I'll say, free time. And one of those occasions occurred when he was trying to take a nap in one of the closets in the house of the master. And as he lay there trying to sleep and rest because his time was not his own, he heard a noise. And the noise was his aunt saying, "Oh, please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt," pleading what he thought was for her life. The master of the house followed his aunt into the other room where Frederick Douglass was able to see and to visually, unfortunately, was able to see what was going on. The master took out his whip and said, "I told you to do A, and you did B," and proceeded to whip his aunt until her back was bloody. According to David Blight, that was one of the turning points in the life of this great man. I submit to you that if you have time and would like to get a comprehensive picture of this gentleman, please purchase the book. I don't get any royalties from it, but it's a must read for everyone who is in this vicinity. I certainly am honored on behalf of the Newark Municipal Council that so many of you came out as we named this field after this icon of history. I do have, and I'm going to ask my councilwoman if she will come up quickly. Derek, can I have the... Having met his another great, no, the city of Newark could not allow you to come within our borders. Please come up. Within our borders without leaving you with something tangible that you can look back upon and say, what a great community and city it is. And so on behalf of the Municipal Council, we have a resolution. I shall not read it, but it is presented to you on Wednesday, April 17, 2019. Today is today, but there is something that you need to know and share this with your family. When the time capsule of Newark's existence is opened, they're going to find your great-great-great-grandfather's name. 200 years from now, when a Rutgers student is studying the history of your great-great-great-grandfather's life, he will forever be inscribed on the, I don't know why I'm stubborn, inscribed on the great history of our city. His name will never die. God bless you and God keep you. Sure.